Do you have a son or a daughter that is struggling for one reason or another with their education? Today we're going to talk about when might it be appropriate to send your son or daughter to a boarding school. Do you have a son or a daughter that is struggling academically? You know, we live in a society today where there are so many options to gain an education. And I feel like our educational system in a lot of ways is pretty antiquated and that we have not kept up with technology. And for a long time, I think we also have had a misunderstanding of education. So a lot of times kids grow up and they think that education is all about getting good grades and getting the diploma. But that's not really what education is about. Education is about gaining knowledge and information, and on top of that, what to do with that knowledge or information or how to apply it in our lives. But we don't do a very good job as a society of helping our kids to understand that. And oftentimes as parents, we don't really even consider it because we live in a society where all of us are conditioned to believe certain things. And then we don't really even question those beliefs. We just think that that's the way the world is in which we live. If you think about it, why is our educational system the way that it is today? Why do we still have these huge buildings where children go and sit in large classrooms with teachers who teach them? And what is the purpose behind that? We know that our educational system isn't as effective as it could be, and that in many ways what we do doesn't give children and youth what they need. Now I want to be clear on this too, because this channel is all about principles and principle-based living. So the truth is, each one of us are responsible for our own learning. Schools and our educational system is meant to help and to facilitate learning, but I'm the one that's accountable for my life, and I'm the one that ultimately has to take responsibility to learn or to gain the knowledge and the information to do whatever it is that I want to do in my life. Here's the other thing that's important to understand is there are many kinds of education. So there's reading, writing, and arithmetic. But then there's the education about, well, what do I do with that information? I used to feel, this way, and I think a lot of kids still do. It's like, why do I need to learn algebra? Because I'm never going to use algebra. And the truth is, in my life, in my occupation, I never have used algebra. So then we have to look at, well, what was the purpose of then learning algebra? And we could say that, all learning benefits us. So there's the discipline that comes from that. There's, if I understand this, then it's a foundation for more learning. So there could still be a purpose behind learning algebra, but it may not be because I'm going to use algebra for my profession or in my life. So we can do a better job of ourselves kind of being aware of what is the purpose of education. So why am I sending my child to the school that they're going to? Is it providing for them what they really need to help them be successful in life? Here's the other thing about education. So if my goal is to graduate high school, have I met my goal? And there's a couple of things from that. Maybe it's just getting that piece of paper, the diploma. But again, that diploma doesn't mean anything. I could have that piece of paper, but if I don't know how to read, if I don't know how to write, then that paper may help me get a job, but it's certainly not going to help me keep the job. I want to look at that, and then maybe my goal is to go on to college, but maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just going to go to high school and then I'm going to live my life. If I have the belief that I've learned all I need to learn, then I'm going to struggle for the rest of my life because we live in a world that is changing faster than it's ever changed before. And if we're not continuing to learn, then we're going to get left behind And there's no way any of us will be able to be truly successful in the world in which we live. And so part of what we want to do with our kids is instill within them a love of learning, because our life is exactly the way it is because of the knowledge and understanding that we have. However our life is, it's that way because of the knowledge that we have and the choices that we've made. If we don't understand that and we think that it's based on something outside of us, then we have no control. But the reason that my life is the way that it is financially is because of the knowledge that I have. The reason that my life is the way that it is relationally is because of the knowledge that I have. If I want things to be different, but I don't know how to change things, then what that tells me is I need to gain more knowledge. I need to gain more learning. So if we can help our children understand that, then it comes down to, okay, well, what's the best way of learning, or what's the best way of gaining that knowledge or information? And there's lots of ways of learning. So we can learn from reading. We can learn tons of stuff today from the internet, from YouTube and from videos, where almost anything that you want to do, you can go on there and find out how to do it and watch and observe that. You can also learn from hands-on or experience, so mentoring and working with someone. So now let's go back to the question, when might it be appropriate to send my son or daughter to a boarding school? If you go out and you look at information, you're going to find some people that think that boarding schools are great and other people that think that boarding schools, are horrible. And depending on the person, it could be either one of those things. But that's true of life in general. So if you're considering that, it's important that you look at, well, what's my goal? What's my purpose? What's the intent behind my behavior? And it may be sending your son or daughter to a boarding school could be the best thing for them of helping them gain the knowledge, the education that they need in their life. For somebody else, that may not be a good decision at all. If I think that I can make my child learn by changing the environment, that's not true. But we all do have different learning styles and different strengths and different weaknesses. So maybe the traditional educational system isn't working for my child, but maybe an alternative setting or school would be. The reason that I want to share this with you is we just opened a boarding school, and we're excited about this boarding school because not only are we teaching the traditional education, so the reading, writing, and arithmetic, but we're also teaching them the principles that govern the world in which we live. Andrew Carnegie, 100 years ago, said that the book Think and Grow Rich should be required in every high school and every university in our country. And his belief was that if that book was studied, it would cut the educational time in half, but it would also give those that study that the knowledge and the information that they need to apply the other knowledge that they gain through education. And so we're teaching those concepts and those principles as well. And then on top of that, we are encouraging the students to look at, well, what is it that I want to do with my education? So what is my passion? What are my interests? What is my sole purpose? Maybe I love photography, or maybe I love art, or maybe I love culinary arts, or health and fitness, or poetry and writing. Whatever it is, we want them to be able to pursue that. So I'm using my education, but on top of that, I'm pursuing my sole purpose or my passion. And then the other thing is knowing what to do with my skills, my knowledge, my abilities. How do I use that to go out and create value in the world in which we live? And so our goal for the students graduating high school is that they will also have their own business in place and a step forward. If what I want to pursue is photography, I've already got a business in place. And maybe I figured out a way to use YouTube or social media as a way to share my talents and abilities with others. And I've already got a step forward into creating a living for myself and pursuing that vocation of my life. Or if I do still want to go on to college, well, then this is maybe a job that can help support me while I'm furthering my education. The decision of a boarding school, it's an individual decision that comes down to you and your son or daughter talking about what's working and what's not working, and what would changing that environment and that learning situation do for your son or daughter. Would it provide them an opportunity to accomplish more of what they want to do in their life? Or is it just a way to maybe fix a problem that isn't working because I have a belief that a different situation will fix that? But again, unless my thoughts and beliefs that are driving my behavior change, then nothing else is going to change. So it's important that your son or daughter understand what education really is, what the purpose of education is, to develop a love for knowledge and learning, and then to see that as an opportunity to gain that knowledge, to gain that information, possibly gain the experience of applying that knowledge and information, moving them forward to create the life of their dreams. If you're interested in what we talked about in today's video, visit our website at principlebasedliving.com. You'll see a link there to our boarding school, LifeQuest Girls Academy. And if you have more questions or have comments, make sure and put that down below. And if you're watching this on LinkedIn, make sure and follow me here.